Hey guys, Camera here, and I got another update slash patch announcement video for you. Today we got news from the devs that they are releasing plans for new updates slash patches for the rest of the year, culminating in the following patches of 14.4, 14.5, and 14.6. Now, with this dev brief, I do want to give just a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be expecting, as there's not really a lot to talk about with this, so I kind of want to get into it. But we'll be expecting things like new night maps across a lot of our currently existing maps, a couple new DLCs, the British rework being slowly but surely implemented, and some little tiny fixes here and there, and the plans for the rest of the year, essentially. So let's get into that now. So I'm going to talk about the night maps first, and the way Team 17 kind of put it out on the dev brief was kind of confusing, so I've simplified it. I'm going to put a picture up on screen of all the maps they're going to make into night maps, and put the update or patch in which you can expect them to be in the game. Now, I decided to do this method instead of outlining on all three updates separately, because the way Team 17 is going to be bringing these maps is in increments, so I wanted to make it a simplistic way, and they had all the maps they're going to make into night versions in one area, so I figured this would just be the easiest way to do it. I did put an asterisk on some of the maps because they don't specifically say when they're going to be coming. It's more based on assumption, but if you need to go back through the video, look at which ones are going to be coming if you're excited for a map to come out. So that's basically the night maps. We're getting them across all different fronts, both eastern and western fronts, respectively. The British maps are also getting a night version or dusk version, but I think they'll add a little bit to the game. We'll see how it goes, though. The next feature I want to talk about, and I think a lot of people will like this one, the Dive to Prone feature is being tested on right now and will be available for testing this Friday. So they brought Dive to Prone in earlier this year, but they took it out due to being exploited, used more as a dolphin dive mechanic. And on top of the whole speed increase debacle, it was taken out alongside the speed increase. But devs did talk about bringing it back at some point after extensive testing to make it a more realistic mechanic. And with that, they're looking to change a couple different movement aspects to make it more viable, such as ground friction parameters, where players will carry momentum throughout, which means they cannot change direction during a mid-dive. So when you're diving in one direction, you're going in that direction. You can't just suddenly change direction on a moment's notice. An animation queue system, so that way players can't no longer dive while jumping. Instead, the new animation queue system will be used to begin the dive when the player lands from a jump. A stance change timer. This will ensure that players aren't able to dolphin dive, as the part of the issue was originally, by including a cooldown that prevents the action from being carried out too soon after completing a dive. Additional ground friction. The duration and speed of the slide has been turned down to feel more realistic, and is now impacted by whether you are entering the dive to prone from standing or crouched. Camera improvements are also being made, such as with the head bobbing under locomotion from switching between standing and then suddenly diving to prone. Forward speed aspects are going to be played around with a bit, and also additional parameters such as disabled aiming down the sights for a duration on landing. So I think a lot of these aspects are pretty good. They are at least trying to make it less able to be exploited, and I think a lot of people will like the improved Dive to Prone feature when it comes back. I know a lot of people really want to see it come back. I'm one of those people. I miss the mechanic, but I'm glad that they're working on to make it be able to not be exploited as bad as it was. So I'm looking forward to that. A third and final thing that I want to talk about with this update announcement news video that's going to be coming to the game soon is the British Forces rework and DLC uniforms. I'm going to kind of pair these in there kind of together. So an update 14.5, along with the new versions of LL, Main, and Drill coming to the game, the devs are going to start implementing changes to the British forces, things that I've mentioned previously in a post. I'll link that as well down below in the description. But they are going to be bringing new things such as British desert uniforms, German desert uniforms, new British helmets, a British light tank change, so there will be a Stuart or an M3 Stuart light tank added to the game. I don't know if this is going to replace the Tetrarch or the current British light tank. I'm unsure. There's nothing said on this front yet, but the M3 Stuart is getting added for the British. And the Elite Enfield #1 Mark III rifle, which if I recall, this was the World War I version of the rifle used during World War I that the British had. Now, a lot of this is for update 14.5. There is not much said in the dev briefing about update 14.4 or 14.6 about other British weapons being added or what else will be added. It'll probably be added incrementally like the maps at other points during the year, but we'll see as we get more updates, as the devs have been pretty good about communicating certain things in the last year or so. In the latter aspect, I want to talk about the different DLCs they're bringing. Of course, they're just merely cosmetic. We'll be getting a Fürstenjäger cosmetic DLC or German paratrooper uniform DLC, as well as a new Panzer uniform for 1944, the Erbsenmuster pattern 44. I apologize if I just butchered that pronunciation, but we'll be getting a couple DLCs. Obviously, nothing that's going to influence the game, just makes you look cooler on the battlefield. Now, the last part I do want to mention is they didn't really talk about a lot. They did mention in a couple spaces or areas that there will be some general bug fixing. The only one they named by name was the loadout bug, and that's one of the things they're going to be looking to fix as the year progresses. The other thing I want to talk about is that there will be a free weekend coming up in November. So run and hide, depending on how you feel about this. Veterans, you're going to have one of two things. Either you're going to have fresh meat to indulge on, or you're going to have a lot of new players that need help. Encourage them. Let them like the game. Make sure you help them get along. So there's that coming up in November, so prepare for that. But overall, the next 3 updates are not going to be a lot. The future aspect, what they've got is just to essentially focus on improving the experience with Hell Let Loose, and kind of it's going to be quiet for the rest of the year except for these patches. So that's all I've got for you. Hope you got something from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.